Hi, everyone. So I'm coming at you from a very sunny northeast Scotland, and I've had 7 beers so far today. What could possibly go wrong? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background, about our business, about our philosophy, and about kind of the key things for us on the journey from 2 humans and 1 dog to the business that we are today. So I studied law at university in Edinburgh, essentially because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and it felt like a sensible thing to do. And I graduated after 4 years. I got a job in a legal office, and I absolutely hated it. I sat there in a cheap suit doing glorified admin, and I quit after 2 weeks. I thought, this is not how I want to spend my life, and I wanted to do something completely different. So I ended up working on a North Atlantic fishing boat for 7 years. So I started off on the deck. I went to nautical college part-time. I became a captain, and my last 3 years on the North Atlantic was as a captain. And a lot of the business philosophies that we use today were kind of instilled and inculcated during my time on the North Atlantic. So it's a very, very tough place to make a living, the North Atlantic in January and February, and those were our main fishing seasons. It's tough, it's stormy, it's intense, it's dangerous. One day we had one of the team washed off of the boat into the sea. Luckily, we managed to get them back. Another time, one of my very best friends lost an arm in an accident. So it was tough, it was hard, and still there's great work ethic, and still there's great kind of sense of being able to work in a team. But I also got to see leadership under pressure and also be a leader under pressure as well. So to know what it takes to kind of lead people, to lead a team in that tough environment definitely stood me in good stead. During my time on the North Atlantic, I decided to start making beers at home. So myself and my best friend Martin tried to copy our favorite beer at the time, which was Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. I remember the first time I had that beer, the first sip, I was like, what the hell is this? Second sip, I knew my life was never going to be the same again, and I just absolutely adored this liquid. So we cobbled together a tiny homebrew setup in Martin's mum's garage, and we set about trying to copy this beer. And over the course of about 18 months, we actually got quite good at making beers at home. The first 10 batches were completely undrinkable, but kind of picked up from there, and we're making some quite decent beers. And in 2006, we got the opportunity to meet our idol, Michael Jackson. Not Michael Jackson, the famous pop star, but Michael Jackson, the world famous beer and whiskey expert. So he has sadly passed away, but he was our idol with all his books, and he was the global authority on beer. So we met him down in London. He was hosting a beer tasting, and at the end of the beer tasting, we kind of fanboyed him, and we got him to taste a beer that we made at home. And we was like, oh my God, this is Michael fucking Jackson tasting a beer that we made in Martin's mum's garage. He tasted it, kind of put the glass down slowly, looked at us quite sternly and said, boys, quit your jobs and start making beer. So we thought, fuck it. If Michael Jackson's saying that to us, let's do it. So we were 24 years old at the time. We had £30,000 of life savings. We managed to borrow £20,000 from the bank. And we decided to set up this business with 2 humans, 1 dog, and a big mission to make other people as passionate about fantastic beer as we are. So we set up in Fraserburgh in northeast Scotland. We leased a tiny, derelict, dystopian, fall into pieces shed in this godforsaken industrial estate because it was all we could afford. And all of the beer making equipment, it was beg, bootleg, borrow, barter, just to get the whole thing set up. So we had plastic tanks from a local garden centre because we couldn't afford to buy stainless steel. We did the plumbing ourselves. We did the wiring in ourselves. We had some old dairy tanks. It was a ramshackle DIY bootleg setup, but it got us going. And the first beer we ever made was packaged in April of 2007. That actually wasn't the first batch. That was the third batch. So batch 1. I got a bit excited leaning over the mash tun, and my car keys, my cell phone, and a mercury thermometer ended up in the beer. The second batch, we bought some very cheap hose to connect up our tanks, and the cheap hose made the beer taste like plastic. So I had to go to the bank. I had to get a credit card to get £500 to buy malt and hops to make a third batch, because the first two batches had to be condemned. Luckily, the third batch was okay. But the first 18 months for us was very, very tough. Nobody wanted to buy our beer. Everyone told us to make beer with less hops, with less flavor, to change the names. We couldn't afford to pay ourselves. We both moved back in with our parents. We were sleeping in sacks of malt on the floor. We were filling bottles by hand. We were selling at local farmers markets at the weekend. I was doing deliveries out the back of my beat up Volkswagen Golf. We were losing money, and pretty much every single day for the first 18 months, it looked like we were 1 or 2 days away from the business failing. I also had to work part-time back in the fishing boat just to try and supplement the income, and that money went in to kind of try and fund the losses in this fledgling beer business. But we were so determined to stick to our guns. So at the core, what we do is completely selfish. We make the beers that we want to drink ourselves. So everyone told us to make beers differently, and we didn't want to do that at all. It was like, this is what we want to make. These are the beers that we love. This is how we're going to make it. And we just wanted to keep plugging away to kind of try and find some momentum, or kind of try and find an audience. But it was very, very difficult. And I remember one day was especially tough. I'd been up since 4 o'clock in the morning filling bottles by hand. And then that afternoon, I was kind of going around some local bars and restaurants trying to sell our beer. And I had Punk IPA with me, which is still our flagship beer today. And I took it in and gave the guy my best sales pitch, handmade, artisanal, loads of fantastic hops. And he kind of tasted it, spat it back into the glass, and told me that he didn't like any beer that had hops in it. So I thought, okay, do I tell this motherfucker that every beer's got hops in it, or do I just go back to the card and wonder what the hell I'm going to tell the bank the next day, because we're not paying our loans back at all. So very, very tough first 18 months. Kind of towards the end of the first 18 months, I sent some beer to a Tesco beer competition, and I kind of forgot about it. And 4 weeks later, I got a phone call from Tesco saying it would finished first, second, third, and fourth in this Tesco beer competition. I was like, okay. So I ended up going down to London, to Cheshunt, which is where Tesco headquarters were at the time, and I met the Tesco team. And the Tesco team told me, James, your beers are fantastic. We want to put these 4 beers into 400 stores nationwide, and we can sell 2,000 cases a week. And I sat there with my best poker face on and didn't mention anything at all about the fact this was 2 guys and a dog filling bottles by hand. I signed a contract, and we had 8 weeks until we were due to make the first shipment of 2,000 cases to Tesco. And I got back, and we had no idea what the hell to do. There's no way we could make that much beer. There's no way we could package that much beer. So we put a plan together, and we went to our Bank of Scotland. And this was 2008. This is when the global economy was crashing into this kind of crazy tailspin. And we said to our bank, look, I know we haven't paid our loan back. I know we've been losing money, but we've got this amazing deal with Tesco. We need £100,000 for a new bottling line. We need £50,000 for new fermentation tanks. But look how much beer we're going to sell. This is going to be amazing. And the guys at Bank of Scotland just laughed at us, essentially. It was like, you're losing money. You're not paying your loan back. You're almost out of business. There's no way we can give you this money, James. We just can't do it. So what myself and Martin did, we went to the bank across the street, which was HSBC. And we said to the guys at HSBC, our Bank of Scotland, have just offered us an amazing finance package on a bottling line and fermentation tanks. But if you guys can match this package, we will shift all of our banking to you. We're a young up-and-coming company. We're going places. We've got this Tesco contract. And for some reason, HSBC gave us the money. We shifted our bank into HSBC. We got the bottling line in. We got the beer off the bottling line 10 days before it was due to ship to Tesco. So business plan for the first 2 years of this business: make hoppy beers that we love, tell lies to banks. Maybe it's still the business plan today, who knows? So we got the beer at the Tesco, and our business started kind of picking up from there. So we started selling to some other supermarkets. We started selling to some export markets, and we were so busy that we couldn't take any time off for a holiday. So we ended up like, well, where do I want to go? And then send in beer to those export markets, because it meant we could visit there. And it was like almost like a holiday when we were working really hard. So 2008, 2009, 2010, we were growing. It was tough, but we were growing. We had some momentum. but we just kept constantly running out of cash. And any small business that's growing quickly, even though you're profitable, you just kind of end up in this cash black hole between inventory, investing in capacity, adding staff, payment terms, stock, all these things just make it really tough in your cash position. And ours is quite a cash intensive business. And in 2010, we had lines of finance going with 4 different banks, and we just couldn't expand quick enough. So I decided to do something pretty radical and kind of think out the box completely. So we came up with something that we called equity for Punk. So this was back in 2009. This was before crowdfunding as we know it today even existed. So the concept that we came up with, which was completely novel at the time, is we would sell equity stakes in our business to our customers on our website. The first 6 legal companies that I spoke to about the potential of doing this all told me that it couldn't be done. It was impossible. It couldn't work. I kept on going. I found a 7th legal company, and they said, "Okay, we can do it. There's a lot of risk, and it's going to cost £100,000 to do it." And we took a gamble, and we did it. But that was £100,000 at a time that we'd only £25,000 in our bank account. So we gambled the entire future of our business and making this completely untried, untested, unproven business model that we call equity for punks work. And it turned out to be one of the best things we have ever done as a company. So we now have 200,000 equity punks globally who own about 20% of our business, but we don't see them as investors. They're advocates, they're ambassadors, they're the heart and soul of what we do. And our business model has always been to try and shorten the distance between ourselves and the people who enjoy the beers that we make. And for us, Equity Punks is the ultimate incarnation of that philosophy. We've also used it to raise more than £70 million of capital to fund our business, but it's about so much more than investment. It's about connection, it's about engagement, and it's about building a community and putting that community right at the core of what we do as a business. And that has been absolutely key to everything that we've done from kind of 2010 onwards. So if we fast forward to today, we're a business that's now valued at 1.8 billion, which is kind of scary because it just feels like yesterday it was 2 humans and 1 dog filling bottles by hand. We've got about 2,500 employees globally. We sell our beer in 65 different markets, and we also make beer in Scotland. So I'm in our headquarters in Scotland at the moment, in Columbus, Ohio, which is where our US business is based, in Berlin, got a fantastic facility in the heart of Berlin in Germany, and also down in Australia. So on top of kind of making beer in those 4 places, we also have 105 amazing retail locations, some in the UK, but we've also got some fantastic international locations from Sao Paulo to Tokyo to Shanghai, Seoul, Stockholm, Paris, Barcelona, Rome, and kind of retail locations. We opened the first one in 2010 in Aberdeen. It really kind of gives us a fantastic opportunity to immerse people in our universe. So we want to kind of create spaces that were a showcase for everything that we love about fantastic beer. So talented, passionate, evangelical, knowledgeable bar staff, a selection of our favorite beers from all over the planet, and an environment that's kind of just set up to be all about the enjoyment of fantastic beer. We decided to build a business in the US, so that was 2016. It was a pretty crazy thing to do for a little Scottish company at the time, but we decided we wanted to build a brewery and establish a base in the US market. So I spent 5 days and I visited 5 different cities in the US trying to decide where we should set up our US business. So I went to Philly, I went to Boston, I went to Richmond, I went to Chicago, I went to Columbus, Ohio, spent 1 day in each city. And I loved the day that I spent in Columbus, Ohio. I liked the city, I liked the energy, I liked the vibe. And I thought that was where we should build our US headquarters. So I got back from those 5 days in America and I sat down with Martin. I said to Martin, you've never been to Columbus, Ohio. I've only been there for 1 day. We have done no feasibility, no diligence whatsoever. This is going to cost us $35 million that we don't have at this moment in time. And we've got no idea how we're going to get, but we should definitely build this thing. And Martin just kind of nodded his head and said, yes. I thought, what the hell, let's let's do it. So we phoned up, we bought the land, we've planned a building, we've got an amazing 42-acre campus there. We found a way to raise the money through equity punks, and we built our brewery in America. And on our campus, we've also got the world's first beer hotel. So the beer hotel has got beer on tap in all the rooms, a mini bar filled with the best beers from all over the planet, a fridge in the shower for shower beers, and the rooms also overlook the tanks where we make beer, and a Time magazine actually put our beer hotel in the best 100 places in the planet last year, which was kind of cool accolade. So there's been a few things which have been kind of central to what we do. One is people, and having a new approach to how we look after the amazing people who are in our business. And I always say that our long-term destiny as a company is going to be completely determined by the amazing people who work in our business. And we want to be the best company we possibly can be to work for. And we do a few unusual things in terms of our internal culture. So firstly, we have something that we call the Unicorn Fund. With the Unicorn Fund, we share 10% of our profits evenly with all of our teams. So it doesn't matter if someone is our CFO or a junior packaging assistant, they take home the same share of the profit. So it unites everyone in a profit share scheme. As part of that, we also do what we call open book management, which is almost the complete antithesis to how people tell you to run a business. So we share full P&L, all the numbers with all of our team every single month. So everyone knows exactly how the business is doing. And we believe in radical transparency inside our business and outside of our business. An example of that outside, we actually give away the recipe for every single beer we make. So this is essentially the keys to our kingdom, everything that we hold dear, the things that most companies keep under lock and key, but we just want to give that back to the beer making community, and we want to be as open as possible. Other things that we do internally, we do paternity leave. So if someone in our company adopts a dog or gets a puppy, they get a week off work to help the new family member settle in. And we're also hell-bent on developing leaders inside our company. So we've got something called the BrewDog salary cap. So the average gap in a UK company in a UK public company between the lowest paid position and the highest paid position is 140. In an American public company, that's almost 300. With our salary cap, no one can join our business and be paid more than 7 times what the entry level position in our business is. And we're also a real living wage employer, so the entry level wage is very, very good in our business. But what this means is we can't hire expensive, senior, fancy people from the outside. We've got to develop people internally. We've got to build and develop our leaders from within our business. But that means we've got a senior management team who know the business inside out, who know our values, who know what we believe in, who know what we're trying to do as a company. And I think it just gives us a much, much stronger team as a business. So focusing on building a completely new type of culture. But also one of the things that I think have changed in business in the last 5 to 10 years, internal is external. So what you do on the inside of a company is just as important as what you do on the outside of a company. It's almost two sides of the same coin, but in today's environment, the coin is spinning so fast, those two sides blur into one. So it's so important, and we pay so much attention to internal culture as well as what we do from an external perspective. Second thing that's been massively important to us, and especially so kind of over the last 18 months, is sustainability. As humans on this planet, we are facing an existential climate crisis. Huge, huge changes needed right now, as in today. Not in 2025, not in 2030. Fuck all these companies that are saying they're going to be carbon neutral by 2050. It is too damn late. Huge changes needed today if we're going to avert this crisis and if we are going to survive as humans on this planet. So in the middle of the pandemic, in May last year, we decided to completely pivot our business. We decided to put everything on the line for what we believe in, and we became the world's first carbon negative beer business. That means every single year we take twice as much carbon out of the air as we emit. We also believe that our carbon is our own problem, so we take the carbon out of the air ourselves. We've got our own forest in Scotland that's almost 10,000 acres, where we're going to start planting almost 7 million trees to take our carbon out of the air, so we're addressing the problem ourselves. We also work with Professor Mike Berners-Lee, who is a world-leading expert, a renowned author, and an amazing authority on climate change, sustainability, and carbon footprinting. So he has helped us on this journey as well. And as well as double offsetting the carbon footprint of our business, we're also making massive, massive investments to reduce the carbon footprint of our business to zero through the electrification of our vehicle fleet. We're installing an on-site bio plant that is going to turn our spent malt, which is our biggest byproduct, into biomethane, which is going to power our system. Our business globally is also now completely wind powered, so huge investments in sustainability, but doing sustainability in a new way by taking complete ownership of it and fixing it ourselves with our own forest. So we put everything on the line for what we believe in here, and it's something that's so, so important to what we do. And at the kind of convergence of these themes of kind of purpose, sustainability, looking after your team is B Corp. So I'm not sure if you guys know about B Corp. We actually became a fully certified B Corp last week. We're now the world's biggest beer B Corp. So B Corp for me is the future of business. So it's a certification process for companies that put as much emphasis on community, on giving back, on sustainability, on looking after the planet and looking after their people as they do in profit. Patagonia are a famous B Corp, and I think it's a great blueprint for any company going forward. And it's something that we're very, very passionate about. We're also I guess, reasonably famous for some of the marketing things that we've done and kind of how we've grown our company in an unconventional way. And that's been a very deliberate strategy from day one. We are in an industry dominated by global behemoths with multi-billion-dollar advertising and promotional budgets to essentially convince people that the watered down, insipid, mass market, lowest common denominator garbage that they call beer is actually what beer should be. And we wanted to just blow that whole thing up. But we started off tiny and we're still quite small. So if we spend our money in the same way as our big competitors, we are just going to get wiped out of the game completely. So it's always been about how can we make £1 of marketing spend land like £100? How can we do something with way more impact? So what it means is we don't do the same things that the big guys do. We don't do billboard, we don't do TV ads, and we look to kind of do unconventional marketing. So that's social, that's engagement, that's PR with a kind of few high octane firecrackers thrown in the mix as well. So we've done some pretty crazy things, from driving a tank through the streets of London to open our first bar there. And by the way, we got that from a website called Tanks a Lot. We actually got it from a website called Tanks a Lot. So if any of you guys need a tank for anything, you'll know where to find one. We had a campaign called Death to the Fat Cats, where we threw stuffed teddy cats out of a helicopter with parachutes over the Bank of England. So I'm scared of heights, but I was like hanging out of a helicopter over the Bank of England with these cats, which was quite good fun. We have made 40 episodes of our own TV show in America. So some American TV execs saw the videos that we were making on our website and decided to give us a TV show out there. A funny thing about that is for the first season, they wanted to subtitle us because they thought Americans wouldn't understand our Scottish accent. So I was very, very happy to avoid being subtitled in America. We also ended up in a battle with dead Elvis's lawyers. So our best-selling beer in America and our second best-selling beer in Europe is called Elvis Juice. So shortly after we launched Elvis Juice, we got a letter from the people who own the intellectual property behind the Elvis name, saying that we couldn't use the name Elvis in a beer, and if we did, we had to pay them a license fee for every can, case, bottle that we sold. So what myself and Martin did, we legally changed our own names to Elvis. It cost us £25. We just downloaded a form online to do it. And then we sent them a letter back saying that we wanted a license fee because they were using our names on all of their music. And we haven't heard back from them since. So maybe the 4 years at law school came in quite handy. I think we're at a really interesting time to be running a business, but also to be starting a business. So the rules of the game are changing so quickly at the moment. And I think one of the impacts of COVID-19 is those those rules are only going to change faster. So I think what we're seeing is consumers expecting so much more from businesses. They're looking to align themselves with companies whose values match up with theirs, who have got purpose, and who are not just some big faceless international monolithic conglomerate. And it's so, so important. So companies that value sustainability, companies that focus on giving back, companies that are passionate about what they do, companies that are transparent, and the business landscape is changing incredibly quickly. And I think COVID, it's been a terrible tragedy. And I think from a business perspective, it's going to do a couple of things. It's going to make us far more mindful of how interconnected we are as humans on this planet, but it's also going to make us far more cognizant of the impact we are having on this planet as well. So I think in 5 years' time, unless a company has got real, honest, transparent sustainability at the core of what it does, then it doesn't even have a seat at the table. It isn't even in the game. And I think it's going to be companies that get us out of this climate mess. So government have shown that they're completely incapable at solving this climate issue. So it has to be the most progressive businesses working hand in hand with leading scientists to get us out of this mess. I'm going to take questions in a few moments, but just to kind of try and summarize what's kind of taken this thing from two humans and a dog to the business that we are today. One, not listening to advice. So that it's so easy. Everyone's got an opinion. You've got to find your own way to do things. You've got to find your own path. Two, just don't give up. Every single day for the first 2.5 years of this business, we could have easily given up. It looked like we should give up. You've got to fight. You've got to be determined. 95% of startup businesses fail in their first 2 years, and they fail because the founder or the senior team just don't have enough fight in them. Everyone thinks starting a business is cool, is fun, it's sexy. It is not. It is difficult. It's gritty. It's tough. It's challenging, and you've just got to kind of fight your way through that kind of first two year period. Third, you've got to invest in your people, and you've got to believe in your team. So a business is the sum collective of the people in that business. And as I said, we fully believe that our long-term destiny is going to be determined by the amazing people that work in our business. Fourthly, you've got to find a way to do things differently. So when it comes to marketing, when it comes to communications, we've got this little test, this kind of filter, this lens that we look at everything through. And that is, could another company do this? And if the answer is yes, we don't want to do it, because then we are essentially just wasting our money. So we've got to find things that other companies won't have the edge, the bite, the guts, the foresight, the imagination to do, because that is how we can kind of gain market share with these kind of global behemoths that are kind of leading the way. And then finally, community is just so important. So community is at the absolute core of everything we do, and we've only been able to build our business hand in hand with this amazing 200,000 strong Equity Punk community that underpins pretty much everything that we do. So thanks a lot for hanging out today, guys. I'm excited to take your questions whilst I drink some more beer. Cheers. Okay, from the Cedar team, what's the worst startup founder advice you commonly hear? I think I've just got a default filter where kind of any advice, I just kind of tune it out and don't really listen to it. So I'm just kind of programmed against listening to advice. Cool. So question from Daniel, what is the most cost-effective marketing strategy for early stage startups? I think it really depends what sector you're in, what you're trying to do, but any early stage startup, you've got to find a way with a minimal amount of money to get your name out there. So one of the things that we did when we were tiny to really get their name out there, we made the world's strongest beer. So we took a technique for making a beer style called Icebox, which is a kind of classic German beer where you make a strong beer and you make it cold and you take away ice and you essentially concentrate the aroma, the flavor, the alcohol, and you can increase it. But we kind of did that on steroids in a local ice cream factory, and we were able to make a beer which was 32% and then 40% at the time. And that just got us so much free PR, free awareness, It also caused a bit of controversy as well. There was The Sun, which is anyone not in the UK, it's a newspaper for people with the IQ of a garden gnome. The Sun had a headline, which was my head and a bottle of this beer, which was called Tactical Nuclear Penguin. And the headline was binge drinking, blame this man. So I think you've just got to, the lens which any startup has got to view marketing through is like, what can we do to get people speaking about us without spending any money at all? And that needs to be the kind of starting point you jump off on. Question, when developing a product, do you mainly develop it based on what people want or based on what you think people need? Fuck both of those suggestions. We do neither of those things. So everything we do is 100% selfish. So we make beers that we love ourselves. And that is it. We do no market research. We do no consumer work. We do no studies. We don't send out any questionnaires. We don't focus group anything that we do. It's all just about making something that we love, making something that we're passionate about, and hopefully other people love it as well. And I think my favorite quote on kind of doing market research comes from Henry Ford, when he said if he asked people what they wanted, they would have asked for a faster horse. Question, am I in underpants like most people in Zoom calls? I've actually spent most of the last 12 months in sweatpants, and I've also got my sweatpants on today, yeah. Question, your approach to market, and especially on LinkedIn, is so ballsy. I wondered if this approach is something to do with the confidence from beginning or something that could only do as we don't know. Our approach to marketing was exactly the same from day one. So in 2008, just after we started, we got embroiled in a public spat with the Portman Group. In 2009, we got involved in a spat with Advertising Standards Authority. So we have always worn our heart in our sleeve. And I think so many companies are just completely devoid of personality. They're run by committee. They are so risk averse. And I just think it comes across as so inauthentic. So we take a stand for the things that we believe in. We fight for what we think is right, and we're not scared of sharing an opinion. Some people love that, amazing. Some people don't like that. We don't really care, but we always wear our heart in our sleeve and stand up for the things that we believe in. And that could be making a protest beer like we did in 2014 against Russian anti-homosexuality laws that they passed just at the time of the Winter Olympics in Sochi. It could be making a protest beer when Trump pulled out of the Paris climate change agreement, or taking a stand in anything we want, but always like, this is what we do, this is what we believe in, this is how we're going to do it. If you like it, amazing. If you don't like it, we don't care. Okay. Question from Tim, how did you get reputation and credibility when you were first beginning and pushing into market? We didn't. We had no reputation, we had no credibility whatsoever. So we just faked it. It was just game face, it was just poker face. So I sat there in a meeting with Tesco and told them we could supply them 2,000 cases a week when our capacity was about 250 cases a week. So bluff, bluster, game face, and just kind of having enough belief in yourself that you can maybe somehow find a way to make it work. Question from Anna, did established beer companies try and push you off the market? If yes, how did you handle it? Yeah, they absolutely did. And I think for me, that is a kind of hallmark that we're doing something well if we can make the big beer companies scared. So there was a story a few years ago. So Diageo is the beer company that owns Guinness. There was a business awards ceremony, and we had been told that we were going to get the award for Scottish Bar Operator of the Year. So we were at the award ceremony, we're quite excited, and the award was about to be announced out, and then another company got announced as the winner, and they went up on stage to get the trophy, but they didn't want the trophy because our name was on it. So it was all a bit weird. And afterwards, I spoke to the organizer, and I was like, dude, what happened? And the organizer said that Diageo, who was the main sponsor, came to them just before the ceremony was due to start and told them that if they gave that award to BrewDog, as they planned to, Diageo was going to pull all future sponsorship of the award ceremony. So I was like, wow, okay, and thanks for telling me. So we went public with this, and the next day it was headline news everywhere. It was in BBC, it was in STV, it was like trending on Twitter globally. Diageo then issued this kind of groveling apology as well, which was kind of funny. So I think there's two things. Unless the big competitors that you have are, if they're not scared of you, then you're not doing a good job. And also, if no one's copying you, you're not doing a good job. So the time to be worried is if no one's copying you, and if your big competitors are not trying to push you out somehow. Question from Nick: how many beers deep am I now? I'm going for 8. It's Saturday and it feels like summer. Okay, question from Alina. Just asking because I'm curious, is your legal name in your passport Elvis because the Elvis case? So I was Elvis for 2 weeks. I had Elvis on my driving license. My email address was elvis@brewdog.com. I was going to stick with it. My grandmother absolutely hated it. And to keep her happy, I changed it back to James. So I was Elvis for 2 weeks. I'm now James, but I answer to both. How do I find the imagination to keep making headlines? I guess I'm just quite fortunate that I've got a lot of messed up nonsense in my head, so it's kind of easy to find some good avenues and some good outlets for that. Question from Javier: what was the most challenging aspect of growing the business from 3 people to where you are just now in terms of management team and financing? So people is the most difficult thing. So we now employ 2,500 people, and we're fully focused on being the best company we can be to work for. But it's not easy. So before this, I'd experience of managing 10 people in a fishing boat, but managing 2,500 people is very, very difficult. And I recently wrote an article on LinkedIn which outlined the 10 biggest mistakes that I've made as CEO of this business. And the biggest one was back in 2017. I felt the only way to get our business to the next level was to hire an expensive, senior, fancy management team. So I hired people from Coca-Cola, from Diageo, from Red Bull, from IBM, from Pepsi, from like Heineken, from all these amazing kind of blue chip companies. I hired 7 people and I had fired them all within 6 months. So it was just death to our culture. They didn't get it. They didn't share their passion. They didn't share the way that we work in this company, which is fast, which is tenacious, which is kind of scrappy, which is on the edge. And we kind of lost our soul as a company for kind of 12 months because of that. Biggest mistake I've ever made. And now what we do is it's all about developing our own people from within our company, people who have been on the journey with us, people who know what we care about, people who know how passionate we are about fantastic beer, people who know how much we're going to fight for the things that we believe in, and people who really care and give a damn. And after that strategic misstep a few years ago, I think we've now got the strongest team that we've ever had as a business, which is why I'm really excited about where we can take this thing in 2021 and beyond. Okay, question from the Seedery team. What do I think is the most exciting development in beer over the next 5 to 10 years? I think just how much the beer scene is changing overall is really, really exciting. So when we started, the UK beer market was completely dominated by the mainstream mass market monolithic industrial beers with some kind of sleepy, stuffy, traditional kind of beers that would send your grandparents to sleep at the side. So just the speed of change in the beer market, firstly, towards beers which are full flavor, which are interesting, which are well made, which are delicious, but then also the speed of change towards companies which are transparent, which are passionate, which have got purpose, which care about the planet. So I think those kind of 2 catalyst forces together, and those 2 things are only going to accelerate. So excited to see where that goes. Also excited about non-alcoholic beers. So we opened the world's first non-alcoholic beer bar in London just before lockdown, which is a crazy time to open anything, but it was doing really well before then. So excited about non-alcoholic beers, and just excited about more and more people tasting and enjoying hoppy beers like IPA. So much people still think that beer is kind of mass market mainstream industrial lager. So just excited to be a catalyst for change when it comes to the types of beers that people enjoy, and excited to be a catalyst for change when it comes to what they expect from a company in terms of purpose, sustainability, and how they give back. Question from Alex: how did we successfully break into the US market? By trying to build something in Columbus, Ohio, when with no money at all. So important for us. So we are quite international as a business. In any market that we've just tried to send our beers to, we have failed, and it has been a complete disaster. So we only go into a new market if we can go there with kind of what we see as our entire philosophy, our entire business model. So let's take the US for an example. We didn't just want to send our beers and for our beers to sit on shelf. We wanted to build something that people could experience. So they could connect with their brand, or they could kind of have that emotive connection within what we do. So amazing tap room, beer museum, visitor center, hotel. It's fantastic. We also wanted to build community as well. So we launched Equity Punks in America. First time any company had done anything like that in the US, and we built a community of 25,000. So opening retail, building community, building social engagement, doing some PR activations, and having our beers on shelf. All of those things have got to go hand in hand. If we just send beers to market, it's never going to work. So key for us in the US, but also key to what we're doing in Germany, France, Russia, Italy. Those are kind of fundamental things that we have to do if we go to an export market. How do I assess whether a candidate shares the company culture? So it's tough. Interviews are something that I find tough, and I interview a lot of people, and I think all you can ascertain at the end of an interview is how good someone is at being interviewed. So we share with people. We've got a little book which I will show you guys. So this book is called The Field Guide to Being a BrewDog. So we give everyone who starts in our company gets a copy of this book. Essentially, it's got the history of our company, details of what we do, details of our employee benefits. It's also got the dogmas, which are kind of our management philosophy. So we speak to people about this book. We also are super honest in the interview process. So we're not the easiest company to work for. We are demanding. We're quite lean as a team. We've got flat structures. We move at pace. It's some people love that type of environment and the opportunity of doing. Some people don't. And I think one of the things that we've learned is being open about that at the interview stage means that people know what they're getting themselves into, and we can get better kind of culture fits. By the way, my favorite story in this book comes from 2016. So our head of packaging, a fantastic guy called James Wallace, who'd been with us since 2008, so pretty much when we started, he got a little bit annoyed that people were saying we weren't punk enough anymore. At that time, we just got a new canning line, and the canning line let us code words in the bottom of a can. So he decided, without telling anyone, to put motherfucker day on the bottom of 250,000 cans. The first thing I knew about this is when I got a very angry call from Tesco, because they were getting loads of customer complaints about motherfucker day being in the bottom of the Punk IPA cans. We ended up having to do a product recall of 250,000 cans. So this obviously cost us a hell of a lot of money, and something that was pretty tough. So in most companies, the person who's responsible for a 250,000 product recall might get fired, might get disciplined. With us, I don't know if you can see that, but we made James Wallace Employee of the Month. Okay, question, do we have any strategic partnerships with AB InBev? We do not have any strategic partnerships with AB InBev. Question, if we were to pay someone $1 million a year to work for, what would you expect from her? I wouldn't pay someone £1 million to work. So we've got the salary cap. So nobody can join our company and be paid more than 140,000. So I couldn't pay someone £1 million. Book's name. Okay. Have you noticed any positive effects so far from giving away 4-packs in the UK, and what has the effect been? So this is a brand new beer that we're launching, one that we're very excited about. So this is Lost Lager, beer number 8 of the day, or is it 9? It's one of the two. Who knows? Better not to count after 5. So Lost Lager, as well as being the world's first carbon negative beer, has also got some other fantastic sustainability credentials on it as well. So food waste is one of the biggest single contributors to climate change. So with this beer, we work with 2 of Tesco's main sandwich suppliers. So when they make sandwiches, they can't use the heels of the loaf, and they just get discarded. So we take those heels and we actually use them to replace some of the virgin malted barley in our beer, which reduces our need for agricultural land, for water, and also helps tackle food waste. This beer is also fully wind powered, and also due to some of the technology we've invested in, we use 1/3 less water than the kind of average beers as well. So an amazing beer. It's carbon negative. Every time you drink it, the world gets less carbon, which is fantastic, and a great excuse to have another beer, but also helps tackle food waste, uses less water, and is powered by wind as well. So we are launching this into a space that's kind of dominated by the global behemoth. So we wanted to find an unconventional way to launch it. So rather than spend our money on advertising, we wanted to get this beer into people's hands. So we did a giveaway for 4-packs. We thought we'd maybe give away 10,000, 20,000. It kind of went crazy. Our website crashed for 9 hours. We had to put in place this queue system, and we ended up giving away 286,000 4-packs. And for every 4-pack we gave away, we have planted 1 extra tree as well. So we're actually planted over 250,000 trees because of this. And we just think it's a better way to launch something by getting into people's hands and getting them speaking about it than spending loads of money on billboards. It just kind of creates this kind of background window noise that no one cares about anyway. What was the goal of sharing our delicious recipes with the world? So we believe in transparency and we believe in giving back. So we started off this business as home brewers. We were making beer at home, so we wanted to give back to that community. But we also wanted to show people you can create a new type of business. And so many of the things that we're trying to do is create a new business, a business that we are proud to be part of, and a business that challenges the status quo, that challenges how things are supposed to be done and kind of finds its own path and its own way to do things. And that was what we wanted to do. So no beer business had ever done it before. When we did it the first time, we gave away 284 recipes in full. As I said, it was the keys to our kingdom, everything that we love. And we just give it away. And I think it's one of the things that we've done that I'm very, very happy that we've done as a business. Did I hire a business assistant or personal assistant? Yes. So I worked with an executive assistant called Bethany, who is one of my absolute favorite humans on the planet. And I would be way less effective if it wasn't for Bethany. And she does like way more than what an assistant conventionally would do. She's a kind of amazing perspective on our business and what we're doing, loves beer, has been part of the journey because she is at Equity Punk as well. So Bethany is fantastic. Yeah, if you're watching, Bethany, thanks for doing what you do. How did your character change over time? Wow, since the launch of the business, Anna, that is a tough question. I'd like to think my character kind of hasn't changed much over time. I don't know if that's good or bad, but again, it just feels like yesterday that we were 2 humans and a dog setting up this thing and kind of trying to make an impact in the world of beer and kind of trying to create a business that we loved. And I think ever from day one, we've been very clear about what we do. So we are doing this because we absolutely love fantastic beer and we want to share that love of beer with as many people as we can. So most people think beer is this kind of bland mainstream mass market thing. We want to get people excited about the amazing styles and depth of flavor and character that well-made beer has and get them excited about the kind of fresh, hoppy, fruity snap of an IPA, the kind of zing of a sharp Pilsner, the kind of mouth-quenching acidity of a sour beer, the kind of lush, decadent opulence of an imperial stout, and take them on that journey with us. And that has been core from day one, and that is absolutely core today. Also core, we want to look after our team as best we can, and we don't really care what people think. So I think those kind of key building blocks have remained in place. So I'd like to think I'm very similar to how I was when we started in 2004 as well. A question from Daniel, given we offset carbon directly, what role do we have with the Eden project? So we offset our own carbon in our own forest, which is over 10,000 acres. So it's 50 square kilometers in the Scottish Highlands, which has cost us tens and tens of millions to do. And we also work with the Eden project. So we have got a promotion running, which is completely new over the course of 2021, which is called buy one, get one free. So anytime someone buys one of our 4-packs, 6-packs, 8-packs, or 12-packs, we plant 1 extra tree. So because we're planting our trees in our forest anyway, we're working with the Eden Project. The Eden Project is a fantastic charity based in California. We've got a dedicated area of one of their forests in Madagascar, which is fast-growing mangroves, which are amazing from a carbon sequestration perspective. So this is over and above all the trees that we're planting to become carbon negative, and we're planting these on behalf of our customers. So if you buy any of our 4-packs, 6-packs, 8-packs, 12-packs, there's a QR code you can scan. We will plant 1 extra tree for you. So carbon negative, and we're planting additional trees on top of that. Question from Paul James, how do you keep focused with so many projects on the go at one time? Great question. I work a lot. One of my favorite things for kind of organizing things is my magnet wall, which is behind me. So all the kind of projects I'm working on are usually laid out on that wall. We've got a fantastic and amazing team, and I just feel lucky to be able to work with the team that we have here. They're some of the kind of most passionate, most intelligent people that I know, and it's a privilege to get to work with them. And also kind of very focused on how I manage my own time as well. So I have kind of big chunks of time where I just completely switch off from all technology. So my favorite days are the days where I have no meetings, phone on airplane mode, Wi-Fi turned off on the computer. And I think so many people fall into the trap of being kind of so busy, but it's a kind of reactionary busy. So emails are pinging at you, messages are pinging at you, you're hopping from meeting to meeting, and you never get a chance to kind of take a step back and just kind of think a bit more deeply and a bit more clearly about what are the most important things, what are you trying to do, and then how are you going to do those things. So kind of finding time in amongst the intensity of running a business like this to kind of disconnect and kind of put in place the kind of strategic framework, not for today, but for 3 months out, 6 months out, 12 months out, is something that's so important. It's something I've always got to kind of force myself to do, because it's so easy just to get sucked into the day-to-day, but it's a key part of how I use my time. And my executive assistant, Bethany, is very good at making sure that I kind of respect the time that I've kind of got blocked for kind of strategy, deep thinking, and future planning. Question from Paul. He bought some Hazy Jane for a friend's birthday. Are the golden cans gone yet? No, there are still some golden cans for Hazy Jane, so good luck and hope you get one. What's my thoughts on Bill Gates saying tree plant is not the answer to climate change? Will you start other initiatives too? Yes, absolutely. So I think tree planting takes carbon out of the air, which helps, but we have got to reduce our carbon emissions. So we are working on a plan called 24 to 0, which is our ambitious framework to take the carbon emissions of our business down to 0 in 24 months. In the last few months, we've invested over 25 million into this plan. So on-site bio plant, we're now completely wind powered. We're reusing all of our byproducts, and some of those goes to make biomethane, which kind of powers our process. We now have our first 7 electric vehicles on the road as well. So we are working really hard to reduce the impact we have on the planet, as well as offsetting that impact through planting our own trees and rewilding a very beautiful part of Scotland. Question from Alexander. What is the best question I've ever been asked by an entrepreneur? I don't know. It's a very lousy answer. I'll tell you and I don't put a massive amount of emphasis on advice, but one of the best bits of advice I ever got was from my very good friend, Sir Tom Hunter, who's an amazing philanthropist. And I had a kind of challenge in the business, and I wasn't sure if I should do something about it or kind of just wait a few months and see what happened. And Tom said to me, James, if you were running a marathon, you wouldn't wait until the 22nd mile to take the stone out of your shoe. So that's become a little bit of a saying within our business. If there's a problem, stones in the shoe, let's deal with it, and let's deal with it now. Cool. So I think we're pretty much out of time, but thanks so much for hanging out, guys. It was really fun to be able to spend a bit of Saturday evening with you. Hopefully you've got your hands on some good beer this weekend. And if you're thinking about starting a business, good luck. And I will hopefully see you guys in some of our bars when lockdown is finished. Take care.